Let's get it.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, everybody? I am Tyrone Wilson. It is Wednesday, August 2nd, uh, aka Hump Day, aka Mental Health Day. For me, I like to do this at least once a week. I like to choose Wednesdays because, typically that's the middle of the week. You may need to pick me up to get through the rest of the week. Also, I am a huge mental health advocate. You may have seen me on TV disclose my mental health diagnosis to the world. Um, Ever since then, I felt the need to kind of address it and explain it in my point of view. And some of the reasons why I even brought it up is because I didn't think it was a big deal. Contrary um, to what I was thinking, a lot of people felt like I shouldn't have or felt like it was a bad thing to say. And I just want to normalize at least having that conversation about mental health. So last week we were on Instagram on IG Live, and it was a really, really good conversation. But what I wanted was I wanted more people to be able to participate, and eventually I wanted to have more panelists that can be on the screen. And as you know, Instagram maxes out at 4. So you may know me from Ready to Love DC, but I'm also big into this in the cybersecurity industry, given a lot of talks and training and things of that nature. We have a huge milestone coming up. You all will hear about it very, very soon. At the moment, we have, in addition to myself, PO, and it's JDub. We also have Phil coming a little bit later, and everyone that's in the chat right now. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for the support. If there's any questions that you would like to ask, or if there's anything that you would like to add to the chat, feel free to add to the chat. At some point tonight, there'll be like a transition to where we switch from the mental health. We may talk about some current events or current issues that may or may not be mental health related. And then, we'll have a little AMA session where you can ask us, those on the panel, um, questions. And if they feel like, they would like to answer them, then they would answer them. All right. So some of my favorite people. I like the fact that even when we disagree on things, we still uh, keep it respectful. But for the most part, in my mind, when it comes to issues of like being a gentleman and doing things that you should be doing as a man, I feel like we all agree on that part. So if you can go around the room, I feel like I've talked enough and introduce yourselves, let everyone know where you're at, what you're doing. If you got anything coming up, go ahead.
All right. You know what it is. It's your man PO 100 sightings on IG. You see the name, you see the tag. As far as what I'm doing, I do what I do. So, just keep keep up and show up, and you're gonna see
Mhm.
what it is. Like I said, I'm here. So yeah, let's get it. J Dub in the
Sure
building.
thing, sure thing.
All right. Well, it's hard to follow that introduction from the juggernaut, but much respect to all the panelists and Ty. I appreciate that you invite me on here, and this is like really something important. I think all what you're saying is some great ideas, and I think we can really, I guess, share and give a great perspective, like a very unique perspective from a male's point of view. And well, y'all know I am YouTube's #1 commenter, JDub. Send a special shout out to Danny Owens in the chat. Like you said, Ty, some of my favorite people in here. So I appreciate everybody
For sure,
stopping
for sure.
through. And yeah, I'm on a little hiatus on my channel, but I'm here, working through a transition, and yeah, I'll be back out there soon. But like I said, I'm just taking steps, working with Ty, working with Sabrina on the Superstar Ready Love panel and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
we here. I'm always gonna be around. So appreciate y'all
Right.
tuning in.
For sure, for sure. So one of the first questions that I want to start off with is, what do you all feel is some of the most prevalent mental health challenges that people face nowadays?
I think people really face judgment. A lot of times where when something isn't right with you, right? If you're going through stress, depression, or whatever, some people are afraid to really say, yo, I'm messed up right now. Like, I'm not doing okay, because they fear people are going to judge them and say, you're weak, or you can't hold it together, you're not strong enough as a man, and all of these other things, instead of really confiding and fighting through those demons, and really dealing with them, and hitting them head on.
Good point. I got a follow-up question to
Yeah.
that I wanted to ask. Go ahead. You wanted to answer that, JDub?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have much to offer on that one, because I'm totally with PO on this, especially coming from a man's perspective. Um, Mental health is almost like taboo, and it's a hush hush kind of thing. And as a man, with just like anything else, what we were taught as boys, like, be strong, don't feel, you can't cry. And the fact that a lot of people, but especially men, don't have safe spaces to speak freely, to be vulnerable, to express themselves. So I mean, that is the root of it all, to be able to work it out, and maybe to reach out to someone to say, like PO was saying, hey, I'm not okay, so where can I get some help, or how can I improve this, or maybe I can talk to you to kind of bounce it off you, to kind of get this off of me. But we're taught to just kind of bottle everything in, keep our emotions to ourselves. Even though we're men and women are different, we still have some of the same makeup. We have a nervous system, we have feelings, we have tears, we experience pain, but we're taught not to express
Yeah,
them.
for sure.
So that's
for sure, definitely want to touch on that. Paul had mentioned something earlier that I think it could be something that we can dissect a little bit more. He had said about knowing that there's something wrong. So my follow-up question was going to be, some people don't really know, that they may be in a funk. Like, even for myself, sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 days to realize that I may be depressed right now. And then I got to take a step back. So can you explain some of the indicators, that people could see, like, hey, like, something may be wrong with me right now. I should probably try to figure out what that is.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that really also boils down to a support system, because if you don't have anyone that's around you that's maybe emotionally intelligent or aware, or even cares that much about you, to really kind of focus on your shift in attitude or changes in habits. And that's something that has to be someone in your life that's trusted, someone who is paying attention to you, and as well as you being self-aware of changes going on with you. Because you made a great point of saying, like, not knowing, because some people really, they are oblivious. They don't even have time to self-reflect and say, hey, I'm going through something right now. They're just thinking, this is just a part of life, or I'm upset, or I'm angry, but they're like going through actual trauma, or they've been triggered by some way. So it's very important also to be, like I said, self-aware, if you're able to, and recognize it in yourself, where I need to reach out to someone for help. I can't do this on my own,
Yeah. And also, too, I would say, just to double back off of what JDub is saying, you have to make sure that you surround yourself with well-to-do people, right? People that know you, and not people that are sort of like fly by nights, because your good core, your good group of friends are going to recognize, when you have shifts and changes, right? And so you don't want to surround, especially when just in general life in itself, you don't want to be surrounded by people that are just going to, say, yeah, everything's okay, and look past that stuff, and not really hold you accountable for some of the things that they, or call out some of the things that they may see, that's not normal. For me, I can tell you that my core group is my family. My sister is always, going to gently tell me, yo, you are not doing right, or you did something wrong, or this that you might want to look into a little bit of this or that, because this doesn't seem like who you are as a person, you know. And also too, uh, not to be long-winded, but also I think that we need to check in on our friends as well, and I say check in on your strongest friends, because the strongest ones are the ones that are holding on to the most weight, and they may be suffering in silence.
True. Yeah, you had touched on something about having a sister, and JDub had mentioned some things about having some people that are close to you. Like, I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for my sister, and the fact that, she will look out for me. She will keep it real. Like, she'll tell me the same way that she'll quickly tell me my breath stink, the same way she'll quickly tell me, hey, Ty, like, you probably need to go address this certain thing right here. Um, I had another question. Like, what do you all feel are some of the issues that are trending in mental health right now?
I think there's a lot of depression going on right now out here. um, there's a lot of unaware people. They don't know that they're depressed. I mean, we're coming out of the wildest times ever, right? We've been in a pandemic. We're going through social issues, community issues, and then, we also have financial issues with the flipping of the whole economy. And your paychecks, even though they're the same, they're getting smaller, right? And the grocery bill is getting larger. Your expenses are coming up, and sometimes people don't understand when that's weighing in on them, right? Because they feel like they're getting squeezed, and then before you know it, they're in a box somewhere, and they're like, "Yo, I need to fight my way out of this." And then sometimes they give up. And when you do this, and you do nothing, that's the first onset, I think, of depression. And so that gets overlooked a lot.
You're muted,
You're on
JDub.
mute.
I say, yeah, what I've really noticed out here, in the climate of, I'm gonna just say, like, society is almost, it seems to be is degradation going on. Like, normally things that we would not allow, we are living amongst these things. I mean, like everything is out of control. It is just not in urban cities, is everywhere. Like, people are acting out in such a way where it's normalized now, and it's acceptable. And now it's hard to really tell if somebody is just being emotional at this point, or they're really going through a mental episode. And it's like, we really don't know how to deal with it, and we have to, like, kind of accept it. Because, like, when I'm out in the public, it's nothing for me to see somebody just screaming or having an outburst, or people arguing, fighting, I mean, shooting. I mean, just all of that's tied in. And it's just like, now, where it used to be the exception, now it's like normal. It's just like, it's hard to recognize what's really going on with people. Like, of course they're going through something, but sometimes we don't really know what we're looking at. So
Yeah, JDub, like you hit on exactly what I was gonna talk about. I feel like the mental health, like the overt mental health issues that people have that they're displaying, like a lot of that seems to be normal, almost to a point where a large population of people are accepting that as normal and not reaching out, not helping them, and just being like, oh, like that person's just out of it right now, and we'll just keep on walking. Um, I feel like I remember the times where, you would kind of pull them to the side, try to have a conversation or something. But another thing that I think may be like a mental health, I don't want to call it an issue, is that a lot of people are a lot more cautious because of the wild things that we are hearing, like in the news, on TV, on social media. It's almost to a point like we feel anything could be possible. So rather than to like interject into anything for fear that it may pop off, you just kind of mind your business. And a lot of people are minding their business. And it seems like that's not helping society as a whole.
That's very, very true. And just to follow up on that, you see it every day on the gram. You know, instead of people calling 911 for these terrible situations, they're sitting there with the camera phone up, recording it and trying to get it up so that they can get their likes and their followers up with some sort of viral video. You know, we have all of this tolerance and acceptance for the things that really should be uh, displeasured. Um, so yeah, I'm with you on that part, bro.
Yeah, I see it a lot. Um, Oftentimes, like you'll also see it in coworkers, folks that are having a bad day. I was trying to think about some of the things that could be considered triggers. And for me, the angry outbursts, being physical, like wanting to throw something, punch something, for me, I realized like that's clearly a point where you're unable to control your emotions, to the fact that you're lashing out. Um, Sometimes one of my other cues is the fact that I'll start coughing, you know, because my chest will get tight. And it can be because of the most minuscule things like trying to get my niece to her hair appointment, by a certain time. That'll give me a little bit of anxiety. And I'll notice that if I'm driving in the car, I'll start coughing. And over time, I started to realize what the triggers were and how to react to the triggers. Um, those are good. Those are good topics. I want to segue into like both of you, like on a personal level, if you're willing to talk about like a most recent um, event that may have triggered you, or you may have realized that there's something going on with my mental and I need to take a step back.
Yeah, I'll take that on. So for me, the most recent one was after doing the show, and I had to take a step back, and I said, why is it in my dating life that I'm so guarded, right? Why don't I want to have? Why do I want to keep it more surface level instead of going so deep? Because I mean, I've been married before. I've been in long term relationships pretty much all my life. I've had, you know, I had 20 years. I'm sorry, about 22 years worth of relationships. Between um, three people. So after that, subsided, I had to ask myself, what in the hell, like what's going on? But then it actually got deeper for me because I experienced a lot of loss. Um, Particularly three of the most significant women in my life, went to kaput at once. One being my ex-wife. I chose to leave that situation, and then my mom and my grandmother died 3 weeks from apart from each other. And so, taking all of that in at that one time, made me realize that, um, you know, all right, I lost the most significant women on all levels in my life. They're gone. And so I felt like I didn't want to experience that type of loss anymore, right? I didn't want to have to feel what it feels like to lose another woman that would be important. So I never allowed a woman to get that placement. And when I sat down and I thought about it, I said, yo, that's not me. That's not natural. That's not normal. That's not, who I am. That's not who I was. And I need to figure out how to get back to that person. And so, through therapy, I I started to be able to unpack that. And then, there was grief that I had to deal with. So you have all of this grief that you're carrying, you know, and you're staying stuck emotionally, right? So you're not able to move past that. And once I started to really understand what was going on, and kind of how I landed in that spot, I was able to start then, you know, start slowly understanding, what it's going to take to get back to who I was. So um, that was me.
Oh, Po, I just gotta say, like, I really gotta applaud you for like really opening up and sharing with that. That was a very powerful story of a lot of powerful events that happened in your life. And I'm sorry to hear that you took that kind of loss all at once, because it's hard enough to deal with all that in one time. So just to have that all, like I said, that was very brave of you, and I'm glad you were able to make it to the other side. I know it's still with you, but
Yeah, no
you able
doubt.
to process it. So
I
um
appreciate that. Thank you.
so to really speak for me, I wouldn't say like I'm a perfect person. I don't really have I would call it mental struggles. Normally, I really rely like on my faith in God, because I feel like I've been through so much. So whatever happens to me or whatever I'm dealing with, I always believe that I'm going to come out on the other side, and that if I'm going through something, it's temporary. But I will put a spin on this one when I say, throughout all the important people in my life, what I just recently realized, that how I may have been close to people, or people who've loved and cared for me. I've never really had what we just talked about. I've never really had a safe space to speak my speech. And that's the thing, that like once you have that, it's life changing. Like, I have someone in my life where I can speak to them. I can come as I am. Anything I say, anything I tell them, there's no judgment there. And I'm telling you, it's a very freeing experience. Like, you connect with a person on that level where it says, hey, whatever you say, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, you can bring it here. And I genuinely care about you as a person. And like I said, I've lived what 40, I don't even know how old I am, 46 years, and I've never have been able to sit down and share that, my soul, with a person. And I have that, and it's amazing. I'm telling you, it's just it's life changing. A true support system. And I wish that for everyone, that they have a
Mhm.
person that they can sit down and just bare their soul and know that it's in good hands. And yeah, like I said, the trajectory of my life has changed just by that. Like, beyond even talking with a therapist. I've had therapy before multiple times, but nothing like this. So just, if you can, if you have a support system, use it. Use that resource. Or if you can be a support system for someone, do your best to do that. You can really change your life. So that's what I got to say about that.
Man, y'all are crushing it. Y'all are crushing it right now. I do envy the fact that you do have that person in your life. I feel like it's very, very important to be able to open up. I feel like it takes a lot of the stress, off of you. Um, I have a question on the flip side of that, because you had mentioned, helping other people. I feel like sometimes that I'm an empath. I feel like I can feel a lot of people's pain. Um, I'm always optimistic about people. I have been helping complete strangers through my meetup group for 10 plus years. So I almost feel like I can't say no to helping people. But I also realize that, you know, that takes a toll on me, and sometimes I get burnt out. Have you all have ever been in situations like that, and what would be your advice to that?
Yeah. So I consider myself, and I'm the youngest in my family, right?
Hmm.
But everybody in my family treats me like I'm the oldest, and so I'm like sort of the matriarch, if you will, of the family. And so I carry that load, not lightly either. You know what I mean? And it's one thing when I was talking to my therapist, you know, it was funny because she said, "Yeah, when I talk to my therapist, I'm X, Y, and Z." I was like, "Wait, time out. So you talk to your therapist too? You have a therapist, and you the therapist?" And it's always good, um, you know, and like she said, she has to have somebody keep her in check and keep her accountable, and keep her fresh so that she can do what she does. So for me, sometimes that load does get heavy. I'm not gonna lie, it gets heavy as hell, and you feel like, yo, why is all of this? Why y'all coming to me? Like I still got to deal with the regular life me, and then this. Um, so sometimes you really just have to put your foot down and say, listen, right now, I just can't take any more, right? Respectfully, I want to help everybody out, but I need to fix myself first. And I think, if we take those hard pauses and really show people, that we're also human, we're also, you know, as disrupted as they are, then they will understand that, and you can kind of fix who you are, and then and reach back out. But there's that.
Real quick, Phil, thanks for joining. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick? And did you hear that last question?
I didn't hear the last question. I just got
Okay,
on.
okay. Sure thing, sure thing. If you want to just introduce yourself real quick. JDub, did you want to respond to that after Phil does
Sure,
the
I
intro?
respond. Yeah, to that, because just as I said, being in a support system, I did also realize that I was an actual support system, in a sense that people would just volunteer their secrets, their deepest thoughts to me, just because I'm a really private person. So I'm not a person that'll like spread gossip or anything like that. But it does take a toll in keeping all that information, absorbing all that. Because like like you, Ty, I feel like I'm an empath. Like I take on their emotions, their feelings, and they going through something. It weighs on me. I feel very heavy after I hear those stories. I feel them, and it's no secret. I still live in the 80s and the 90s. Is the old saying, you can't take care of somebody else before you take care of yourself. So that's where you do have to actually really draw those boundaries, because if you're going down, you're no good to no one else. So yeah, you definitely have to you have to look out for yourself. Yes, help people, but not overextend yourself.
Sure thing. Phil, if you want to give a quick introduction. The question was, when you are being supportive of, friends and family, how that level of support can actually take a toll on you. If you want to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I would say that it's hard to balance out how much support you should give to your friends, your family, your loved ones. Um, for me, I try to make sure everybody's good. I'm always trying to make sure I'm taking care of everybody. I'm trying to make sure, just from a protective standpoint, I care about my family, I care about my friends. And when you do that, I overexert myself. I overextend myself to the point that I take on their problems, I take on their challenges, their obstacles, whatever. Um, and that, at times, you don't realize that you're putting way more stress on yourself, right? Because these are people that you love, you care for. So for me, it's just second nature. But overall, it weighs on you heavy because of the fact of, you feel like you owe them something. You feel like it's a debt that you're paying to your family, because it's my family. These are the people that love and care for me. They'll always be there for me, and because of that, I have to do this, even when I know I can't, even when I know my cup is over spilling over. Like I try to still take on. Like, oh, there's a little bit more room left. You try to pour it on. But that's just natural when it comes to the people you love, right? Doesn't matter what you got going on, you're always gonna try to make time. There's always gonna be a little bit more that you can give to your family. There's always gonna be a little bit more that you can give to your friends, just out of that love that you have for them.
Mhm. So, question for you all, you can answer in any order. When you all are getting to that point of overexertion and you finally realize, like, hey, I need to take a step back, what are some of the things that you all do to recover, to get your stamina back up, to get your mental energy back up to where it needs to be?
I would say for me, it's a lot of meditation, right? And then it's a lot of like sometimes, when I go to the gym is the place where I take all of my issues and my problems, and I go and I work through that. And some depending on what type of load I'm carrying, the more pressure that I push, the more release that I get emotionally and mentally from that. So that helps a lot. But then, you know, the meditation part helps me prepare my mind and my heart to, of the items that need to be released. And then also, the most important part is prayer. I pray that God order my steps, and that not only are the steps ordered, but that He would give me the map to take those steps, so that I don't do it blindly.
Yeah, for me, I would call it more of a unplugging system where, like, if it is overwhelming, I will selfishly take the time to recover, recoup, because with me, I'm always thinking. No matter if I'm awake, I'm always thinking. So if I get the time just to set aside to have quiet time for myself and just deal with my thoughts and process, whether it's concerning someone else or concerning me. So it's almost like shutting the world off for a little while for me to regroup. So that's how I do mine.
Man, I don't even know. Sometimes I try to tell you, like, sometimes it's hard just to realize that I'm actually overexerting myself. But I would probably say I play ball like 3 times a week. That's been my safe space. It's been my area where I just clear all my thoughts. It just comes back to that competitive nature where I get to be around my boys and we just having a good time. I'm not thinking about a damn thing going on in the world. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about my responsibilities. I'm not thinking about my family. I'm just focused playing ball. I guess another time I try to take at least 30 minutes when I wake up. Like, I love my phone. I love technology. Everybody knows me. First 30 minutes, I try not to do a thing. Man. I don't look at that phone. It's tempting. Um, but I just try to be with myself, man. As much as I could say I'm an extrovert, I'm more of an introverted extrovert, right? I can go out, be the life of the party, but when I'm at home, I'm chill, man. I just don't want no no drama, nothing. I just sit to myself, think think about why I feel about certain things, a certain way, and then, like Pio said, turn and start praying. That's the one thing that keeps you grounded, right? Doesn't matter whatever trial or tribulation that you're going through, knowing that God's got your back, that you're gonna see it through. So those are my ways of just dealing with the stresses of life, man.
Indeed. Indeed. I'm going to answer that question too, but you did touch on a really good point that we had answered earlier, and
Yeah.
that's about not knowing when you've had too much, right?
No.
So one of the questions for you is, how do you recognize, maybe it could be a trigger or something else that you may be at your breaking point, or something might be wrong and I need to take a step back right now? What are some things that you have learned to recognize?
I'm not 100% sure I've learned to recognize everything. And that's a real ass answer. Like a lot of times it's usually somebody telling me. My body is usually telling me like, yo, I'm starting to have headaches. I'm starting to feel fatigued. Like I start feeling cranky because usually I'm just a caring person, right? I'm usually happy, friendly to everybody. And sometimes I'm just like, nah, I'm giving you a lot of coldness. And it's just like when people point it out, like, yo, you're acting different, you're acting funny. That's when I start assessing myself, like, yo, what's going on? Right? Like, am I taking on too much? Am I doing too much? Um, there are times I try to make sure that I set aside time, especially when I know things are piling up. I set aside time, like I'll put it in my calendar, set alarms and everything like that, just so I can assess to make sure I'm not taking on too much. But I'm gonna be real with you. It's usually somebody, an outside or external factor that's telling me I'm doing too much, right? And that's the unfortunate, can I curse? The shitty part about it. Because you should be able to tell yourself, like, yo, I'm taking on too much and saying no. But it doesn't work like that. You don't just, it's harder for me to say no, especially to people I love, right? And I feel like I can carry that cross for them. I'll be the martyr for that situation. Um, so it's really, for me, it's external. Like people will be like, hey, you seem different. You seem, start pointing out little things that I don't realize about myself.
Yeah, like a lot of the things that you're saying just goes to show that some of the things that we feel, some of the things that we go through are totally normal, because the conversation that we had before you joined touched on a lot of those points. You know, having someone close to you, you know, um, taking over the load, not knowing, like we had touched on a lot of those things. So, um, like I said, it just goes to show like a lot of this is normal. And having these conversations, I feel, is going to be very, very helpful. I wanted to answer that question about how I respond to get myself better. I actually I took the hard road and not actually going to a therapist at all. I feel like I wanted to do the research. I wanted to do the work and actually realize who I am and be able to like control my own emotions and figure things out on my own. So I could get really, really like in touch with myself to a point where I almost feel like I'm superhuman, because the sensitivity to my triggers are acute now. So like I notice the things right away, almost to a point where when I feel it coming, I just chuckle, you know? I chuckle and I'm like, nah, I'm not even gonna get mad. I'm just gonna respond this way. Paul mentioned the meditation. I did try the it's called the transcendental meditation. I didn't go to the class. I didn't go to the school or anything. So at the end, you know, I never got my meditation word. You know, I just listen to my breathing. I basically do the meditation to give my brain a recharge. And really 20 minutes twice a day is more than enough. You may have seen me do my walks. So the 5 mile walks. Um, One of the reasons why I did that is because during my research, I got this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And in that book, it says walks are good, but don't do it with headphones, you know, and it was good for anxiety because you get to listen to the cars, the wind, your feet on the ground, you know, and things like that. And it takes you away from life, you know, because you're not concentrating on what's going on in your life. And that helps with the anxiety. Another thing that I do quite often is um, not necessarily retail therapy, although that helps. But I like to have things in my home that make me feel good when I walk in the home. And I also like to do like bucket list items. So you may have seen me. I took my drone. I went to Marathon, Florida. It was the beach that I grew up on. And I just sat there. There was so much that was going on in my life at the time. I was moving from Memphis to West Palm. I had got everything done by myself, moved multiple locations, my stuff, my mom's stuff. And I was here, we had moved in, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go down there and just sit there. And that's what I did. And it was a big, giant relief. But I also had things that I had to do that weekend. So actually, this weekend coming up will be my very first weekend in about 2.5 years. So I have absolutely zero responsibilities. And it feels really, really good. It feels really good. But that road to recovery, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of long days of the tightness in the chest. JDub, one of the things I am working on, though, is the faith and the prayer. I'm trying, I'm there spiritually, but recently, when this had happened, like immediately after COVID, I had my first anxiety attack. And when you have an anxiety attack, it feels like a heart attack. So if you've never experienced that, it's really difficult to have faith and say that you're going to be okay. Multiple hospital visits, multiple doctors telling me I'm fine. And I'm like, nah, I'm not fine because I ain't never felt this tingling all up and down my body before. But now it's gotten to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm good. I know I'm good. So I do agree.
So Ty, it's funny that you say that. If you any of us, we live long enough, we have multiple examples of why faith is important, or you should have them. Because can you imagine, like I said, especially in the field or what you've seen people experience who have suffered through mental health and would not and couldn't not have the opportunity to sit on this screen and discuss it. They're somewhere tied, locked up away, maybe not even here anymore with us. But you are.
Yeah.
That's an example to say there is something to believe in. There is something that proves that it's a reason why you're here or you should be here. Because you can ask, why you? You could be just like any, you could suffer in a sense like some other people have. So again, and not only that, you're here doing work, helping people to kind of navigate this situation or giving them something that they can hold on to or reference to in dealing with mental health. So you really should think about that. And I think we went too far because another round had a great question in the chat, not to run your show, but I thought it should be brought up because it has some significance.
This one?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Want me to go first on this one?
Fire away.
So this is a really good question. I'm going to try my best not to get emotional. I feel like I'm fine until somebody asks me, and people rarely ever ask me. And what I have been doing recently is if you ask, and I take a really deep assessment and then I answer honestly and I say, no, I'm not, like in the next room, like my mom, has a, a tumor growing and I get to see her, go slower and slower every day. She's degrading and I have to witness that. So I'm not, but I try to be because I have younger siblings and family that look up to me, and it's not easy. So some of the things that we talked about earlier, like going to the gym, my mom is very supportive, of my gym time, especially if I'm away for 2.5, 3 hours, because, I've cried on the treadmill. I've cried in the sauna. And it's because, you can't hold that in forever. And if I'm going to preach that it's okay to be okay, or it's okay to not be okay, then I have to live that as well. So, yeah, very good question. Jay, you got
Yeah,
me.
definitely. And I want to get right back in there with you, Ty. I just want to say, just with anything, again, this is your channel, and we're doing this for the people, and it helps us heal or get an understanding. Um, we never have to apologize about getting emotional. We can wipe all that away. If we feel something and it's moving us, we have every right to be in that safe space to do so. And actually, again, because I'm just speaking on the faith, I'm definitely not preaching to you or putting anything on you. But to me, when you say you kind of struggle with having the faith and all that, when I hear you talk, you're giving everyone examples of what that looks like. Because just think about what you just said, and especially of us men of age, all of our experiences are different, especially like with PO talk, in him losing his mom, all his significant women, including myself. When you speak to say, and I watch your videos, and you're able to walk with your mom while she's suffering, do you understand what type of gift that is? Some of us never got to take that walk. Some of us wish we could talk, wish we could care, wish we can do. So that's a blessing all in itself. Believe me. Believe me. So just really think about what you're saying, because even in the trying times, there's always something to be grateful for. It's always, like I said, because I see you when, like, you sitting watching the sunset with your mom. That's like one of the most beautiful things I ever saw in my life. Like, because I really never took the time to do stuff like that. And if I could do it all over again, when I found out my mom was sick, I would have did all those bucket list things, took her wherever she wanted to go, share that, even though I knew she was passing and transitioning, but we would have actually got that time. And you are actually doing that. Those are memories that you can, when everything is said and done, you will be able to say, hey, I loved on my mom. I got to spend quality
Memories.
time with my mom. It's real. These are gifts. So I'm telling you, you already, when you're saying the faith is questionable, you're already speaking it. Like I'm saying, you're living it. So yeah, that's powerful. Just and just to go into the question, like I told you, I've recently found that safe space, and now I can, if I'm not okay, I can really say that I'm not okay and say exactly how I mean, how I feel. If somebody would ever hear me would say, "Oh, that's crazy, JDub is off the hinges." My support system got me wide open, there for me, and that's the first time I have felt in my whole life comfortable to speak freely. And even though I've known people for 30, 40 years, I still could not show that vulnerability as I do as the person that's in my safe, gives me my safe space. So yes, I can really say that if I'm not okay and say exactly how I feel. Like I say, it's truly a gift. So I just wanted to share my part on it.
Yeah, let me just piggyback off what J Dub said. One of the things, Ty, that you can take um, comfort in is knowing that regardless of what happens on what day uh, for your mom, you can always take comfort in the fact that you honored her all the way from now until the end. You understand? And you intentionally didn't miss those valuable moments. Um, and you don't have to live with the regret of, I could have, should have, if I would have only taken, or I wish we had a moment to do X, Y, and Z. You're doing it now. You're getting it in, and that's just that right there. A lot of people don't get the opportunity to do that. So please take comfort in knowing that you were honoring her all the way from here on out. But to tap into that question, I have a group of friends that I've grown up with and I've known for years, and we stay on a group chat with each other. And every once in a while, something might get said in the group chat, and we might have to check in on that one person, whether it's individually. I mean, I've had it done to me. I said something on a group chat, and my homeboy is like, in a separate conversation, you good, P? I'm like, nah, I'm really not good at all. Like, and because you said that, this is exactly what I want to do, and this is how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Um, and like I said before, earlier, you have to surround yourself around people that not only check in, but they also, they can help lift the load, and when you're down, they're up. You know what I mean? What I say. One of the things that I like to say, y'all know how I like to do my little PO isms. I say, when you're down to nothing, you need to be around your friends that are up to something. You understand? So that they can pull you up and bring you up and keep you to where you are, or keep you to where they are, so that you're not just all the way down on the ground. And if you don't have people around you like that, you need to get those folks. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Man, I don't even know how to follow up after what everybody said. So to answer the question, I'm gonna say no. I haven't gotten to that space, and it's dope to hear that how you guys have gotten there. I haven't gotten there yet. I think I've gotten there. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. Partially just because I don't want to be a burden to somebody else. I don't want to put my problems or whatever I'm going through on somebody else. And I always feel like I'm doing that. I don't want to put that load or whatever I got going on, because I always feel like, I'm Superman. I can take it. I can deal with it. I can go through it. I'll carry that cross, like I was mentioning earlier. It's one of those, I don't know if you want to call it ego. I'll take that. It's a weird feeling where I'm just like, you know what? I could always solve it. I could always take it. I could always handle it. I can handle it better than everybody else, so I'll carry their cross too. I haven't been able to just, if I'm being honest, just be like, yo, something's wrong, right? Or I'm taking on too much. And these are even my best friends. I'll give a little hints, but I also downplay it, like it's not that bad, but it's normal stuff, right? I equate everything to just being normal problems. Like, my problems are not that much greater than anybody else going through this world, right? And then touching on, in Ty, you already know how I feel about your mom. We've talked. It's a similar feeling for my experience with my mom, and I think that's probably one of the first times I've ever told somebody that I wasn't okay. I think this was literally 9 days after my mom passed. Right, my boy was living with me. He was doing an internship on a farm out here. I went home, and then one day I was just in my room. Like, I didn't leave my room, didn't do nothing. And my boy came in. He was like, yo, dog, what's going on, man? You all right? Like, yeah, I'm good. And he was just real about it. He was very persistent. He was just like, yo, bro, it's okay to not be okay. You're my mans. If you're not my man, like, what good am I to you, right? Why can't you tell me, express that? And I think it was at that moment, I think everything just over flooded. Everything just flooded out. It was like, yo, this is a real perspective that I had about regarding my mom. I was just like, I always said that if anybody did anything to my family, it would take the hands of God to pry me off of somebody that did something to my family. I value my family a lot. I love my family. It's something I've always been a protector of. I've always been protective of my family. And I was sitting there like, yo, and I'm sitting there tearing up, and I'm like, I never pictured in my head, what if it was God? What if it was God and it's messing me up? I'm just gonna say something else. It's messing me up because I don't have a position to point my anger to. I don't know, how do I be mad at God during this whole thing. And that was the first time I've ever shared that. And it was just one of the realest conversations I had with my boy. But it takes something like that, I would say, for me. Most of the time, I'm just gonna be like, yo, I can deal with it. I'll push through. But I don't know. I haven't gotten to that point where I can honestly say, yo, I can't handle this. And maybe it's me being naive. Maybe it's me being having this ego about myself, like I can always handle it, even though I know I can't. But I always believe that, yo, something good is gonna come from it. I can't hear you, Ty.
You
I
on
was
mute?
saying, no, we are touching on so many things that are like really close, for all of us. Man, it's kind of hard to transition to like a next section or a topic because it's almost like you need to take a moment, and there's not a lot of times in life, that you actually get to take a moment for yourself. I feel like if you're out there and you have the ability to just take a step back, just 15, 20 minutes to do it. I'm hearing and feeling everything that you all are saying. Um, and Phil, yes, the things that you've done already for my mom, we really, 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 really appreciate that.
That's
Um,
nothing. Not even.
there was a question, Phil. It was referencing, and I think it was for JDub too. Or really for all of us. That it was a question about a safe space. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I guess I could start backwards. From Amethyst. Like, what does it take to be, your safe space, uh, and trusting a person enough for you to be vulnerable without feeling like a burden?
Well, I'll just speak on to what I just shared with everyone. Like I said, just out of all my years of living, finally finding a true safe space. And the way it worked for me is that when I shared something vulnerable and I felt absolutely zero judgment, fully supported, and I felt that this person truly had my best interests at heart, it made me trust, and it just made me open wide. So then I said, I can be vulnerable. I can say exactly how I feel. And once that trust was built and it was proven time and time again, I'm again more and more, I just was able to open up. And it's almost like like what PO was talking about, just like going to the gym. It's like communicating, like you're exercising, and you're building strength in your communication and your vulnerability, and you can just be free. And like I said, I've never experienced anything like that in my whole life. And as I said, it's just a wonderful feeling, because I wish that for everyone. Because you can, yes, you can have relatives, you can have friends, you can have, but like I said, a lot of people just don't have that true safe space where they feel completely open to share any and everything, and just again, not be judged. So it's just about building trust and patterns of that, and time, and it's being proven. So that's where it was earned for me, and I was able to do it.
Can I say something? I just want to address
Hmm.
Blondie Monique, just real quick, and then we can
Hmm.
get back to it. So I want to say this to you, Blondie Monique. You know, when losing your mom is kind of like, when you're in a space, it almost feels like, you're in the forest, right? And you went there with a person, and you two are the only people in that forest, and then you wake up in the morning, and that person that you went there is gone, and it's just you, and you have that void, you know, And I can tell you that you never get over it. You never, ever, ever get over it, but you learn every day how to deal with it, right? When my mom passed away, every picture that I had of her in my house, I had to put it away. I couldn't even look at the pictures because it brought out emotion every single time. And then as time went forward, I started to say, how would my mom want me to take comfort in the situation? What would be some of the things that she would direct me to do? And I started working at those things little by little. You're never going to be able to just, be finished with it all. You feel what I'm saying? So, my advice to you is this, you know, December is like fresh. It's super fresh. It's like yesterday to me. Um, you know, take your time, understand your emotions, understand, or think about those things that made you feel good when you thought about her. Think of those things and then also come back and say, how would my mom comfort me if she was here today knowing that I was going through this situation? How would she comfort me? And take comfort in that and start building your life, rebuilding your life, and carrying her in that respect, right? Because she's always going to be there, in your head. You're going to wake up in the mornings. You're going to think about her. When you're at your favorite restaurant, or that one moment, or you might get the job promotion where you want to pick up the phone to share the good news with her, only to find out that she can't answer it. You're going to have those moments, but take comfort in the things that she would have you do to get through this. And trust me, little by little, every day, it will start to get a little bit more easier to manage those emotions, but you'll never lose them.
Well, I just want to speak on that. Po, you did explain that. I'm not sure who was that. I guess maybe that was for the general audience about like how to deal with the loss of your mother, because yes, for the people who are not in that club, they really don't know until they know. And I could not have explained that better myself, because that's exactly how I dealt with it. And like I said, it's been maybe 17 years since I suffered that loss. And it's just like you said, you never get over it. It's a hole in your heart. But however, you learn to move on. And I was given that one gift where my mom told me, she said, look, you understand what's happening right here. So I want you to be sad, mourn. I want you to cry for 3 days or however long you take, and then I need you to move on and live your life, because that's what life is for, living. I don't want you sad. I don't need you sad. I'm gonna be mad if you sit around here and not live your life, because it's a short life. So I definitely took that with me, and that's how I honor my mother, by living my life to the fullest, and just knowing that, honoring her wishes, and not being overwhelmed by grief or sadness, and just think of the good things. Like I said, in that saying, in everything give thanks. There's always something to be grateful for, and even in the worst situations. So I really connect to what you're saying about the loss. I appreciate even hearing it, or that you're giving it to somebody else.
No doubt.
So he had touched on something that I was gonna ask earlier, and it was about finding that safe space. And I feel like there's a line between being comfortable, being to be vulnerable around someone, or someone that's making you feel safe, and then having, the security in yourself to just say, I'm just going to be vulnerable and I really don't care what this person says. Um, and sometimes I feel like you just need to let it out, if they're giving you that opportunity. Um, Dee's question was, why do most men run past the emotions that are considered feminine? And is it because you are perceived as strong? Just to touch on that, like I actually asked my mom this question because she was asking me about uh, the talk tonight, and I was saying it's because last week, the topic was vulnerability versus masculinity. And I asked her, would she feel different if her man cried in front of her? And she was like, yes, you know? And the follow up was like, do you see why that can be difficult for a man to show emotion? And then finally, she was like, it would depend on what he was crying about. But she followed it up with, but if he did cry, it's got to be like a manly, it's got to be like a manly cry. It can't be no, simple boo hoo or nothing like like that. And I was like, see, ma, like this is why, we are having these conversations. So, what y'all think about that?
Well, I mean, you got to know that your mom comes from a different time, so that would not be an experience for her to like that's acceptable because I mean, we go back even further from the previous generation. I guess what people may be pulling from, like the man that was just supposed to provide, he wasn't even supposed to like really connect with his children. His children supposed to have a roof over their head, food, clothes, and all of that, and that's what his job was to do. The mother was the nurturer. So seeing like some people have never seen their father cry or show emotions unless it was some type of anger. So that's definitely a different space. Now for me, I don't really subscribe to the feminine energy and all that about like how you feel. I'm a Pisces. We're known to be emotional people, and I have no problem with it because I feel like my best work comes from my raw emotions, as long as it's honed in and controlled, because it can be all over the place at times if it gets out of hand. But um emotions to me is where the truth lies, and and it kind of defines where you're at right then and there. So I always embrace it. And I feel like, again, if somebody can show you their emotions, man or woman, it's a gift and it should be received. I don't buy into the stereotypes on it, because I mean I don't let anyone define me if what's a man or to tell me what I'm doing isn't manly or whatever. I'm very secure in who I am and what I do. So it's that definitely isn't a problem for me.
Right. So you're more on the secure side of the house. Got you. Got you. Yeah. Paul, did you want to respond to that?
I would, but I kind of missed some of that because I had to answer the door. Sorry about that. But can you just take me back?
Yeah, it was about the difference between being secure in yourself and just being vulnerable anyway, as opposed to, identifying that person that's allowing you to be vulnerable. Like, do you feel like there's a fine line?
Um, so I've learned, at this age and this stage of the game, to say, F what anybody thinks, do you? And, I feel like um, I don't, if I'm being vulnerable, I'm doing it only because I don't care if you judge me or not. I just want it off my chest, right? I don't really need to have such safe space only to bear that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if I don't feel safe with you, I'm not gonna. There's not gonna be any vulnerability coming anyway. Um, I'm not into walking the tightrope to say, oh yeah, um, there's something that I want to say, but I don't want to say. I take a page out of JDub's book. Say what you say, and go from there. Do it how you want to do it, and you know what I mean. And it's your world, it's your universe. Like if I want to be vulnerable, just like I am here, if I want to share anything, it's going if what I share, what vulnerabilities I put forth in this platform is said, and not worried about, who's going to say what, or, is this going to be on somebody's blog or whatever. Like I said, I'm from the who gives a F space when it comes to that. And I just don't, I used to be stuck in that back in the days where I had to pick and choose, like, oh, I need to make sure that I articulate it and that I act this way and all that stuff. I'm not on that now. So there's that.
Phil, you got anything on that?
I think I missed part of the question. My thing was like,
Yeah, I think it was Paul had touched on that tightrope between being comfortable enough to be vulnerable around someone, as opposed to being secure enough to not really overthink if that person is allowing you to be comfortable. Like you're just going to be vulnerable and let it out because you're secure in yourself.
I mean, it's a balancing act, right? It's hard. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. It's hard in the beginning, especially, and it depends on your environment, depends on your family, how you were raised, and everything like that. When I was growing up in Queens, New York, shout out to Queens, we're going to do that. Being vulnerable from birth was not accepted, right? You can't show too much emotion. You got to be a tough guy. You got to be strong. If you're sitting there crying, and that's
Did we lose him?
Yeah, we might have lost.
He was getting there.
He was getting to it.
Yeah, it was
well, let me pick up one. Like P.O. said, I don't give a damn. I'm just going to get it off my chest. And I like where Phil was going with it, because a part of it, yes, you can share and say what you say to anyone. However, when you're really giving of yourself, it's like a trust factor, because we can feel anything that we want to feel, but being comfortable and giving our emotions or our thoughts to somebody is really a gift, and it should be something that's trusted, because you can walk up to a stranger and say, yeah, I'm mad as hell about what happened today or whatever the case may be, and I don't care what you think about it. But it's another thing where you're sitting in a room where someone totally has your well-being in their heart, and actually they can give you another perspective off of the information that you're giving them, or just maybe to even vent. But again, just something that you can receive from sharing how you feel. So it is a thing where it is a balance, because like I said, you can share that with a stranger, but you would really want to share your emotions with somebody who cares for you, who will give you something to feed off of. So that's all. I just wanted to add that.
Phil, you were frozen.
Yeah, my bad, man. My thing sort of picking up on my hotspot instead of my Wi-Fi. I forgot, what's the last thing y'all heard?
Well, the last thing we heard was you was from Queens Boulevard and Rockaway.
You know about that, Phil.
Come on, man.
But nah, yeah. So it like growing up, being vulnerable wasn't like the cool thing, right? And my parents are Caribbean. My dad's old school Caribbean, so it's always about being tough, being that leader. You gotta be this certain type of way, right? You know, you gotta do that just because that's what a man was supposed to be. It's also a survival tactic, right? You can't show emotion because people will take advantage of it. And it took me a long time and a lot of different experiences to realize, like, I don't need to be that. I define what a man is, right? I got the solid foundation that my pops laid down, and men in my family laid down for me. But I now have to push that narrative forward, or transform that narrative into what a man is supposed to be, right? So now I don't feel bad about sharing my feelings and nothing like that, but it takes a lot for me to share my feelings with somebody in particular. And that I judge by experience, right? I still have in the back of my head that I have to trust you, that you're not going to take the information I share with you, either use it against me or use it to share it amongst somebody else, share it with other people. And that's a hard thing to place that amount of trust. It definitely goes through experience, man. Like even me sharing with my best friend, we've been through everything. It was still hard because I was like, yo, how are you gonna look at me? Right? I don't care about other people. The people who are closest to me, I care about their opinions. I care about how they're gonna view me. Right? And that was tough, even when I told you about that. Like one of the first times I shared something that was that personal and that deep to me. Seeing how he received it makes me now I can tell him whatever. Right? It is an experience-based experiment for me. I've got to know. I need to have gone through some shit with you for me to trust you enough that you're not gonna turn my vulnerabilities against me, because then I can never trust you, right? This is something that as we get older, we start to be more and more comfortable, but it's still that in the back of your head, like, yo, what about this person takes it the wrong way? What about this person weaponizes it against me? Then it's like, why did I tell you in the first place? Now, it makes me hesitant to share that with anybody else. And we even had, I'll touch on this, even during the show, right? Certain things conversations that we would have got out. And that changed a lot about how we all move, right? Because we all saw like some conversations are off camera for a reason. We're not doing it. Stuff gets out and makes you like, yo, I can't trust you now. I got to move different because of the fact of now I gave you something. I gave you a part of me and you didn't cherish that. You didn't cherish that part of me that I shared, that it may have been little to you, but it was the world to me. And that is something that is still a balancing act for me, at least, where, you know, you want to be the cool guy, like, yo, I'm tough, I don't need to, but at the same time, I don't care that much, but I do care about who I share my vulnerability with, who I share my emotions with.
Yeah, Phil, you were gone for a while, but you picked right up where I was just telling PO about the ability to just share or vent is a difference when you are speaking to someone about your most inner deep feelings, and that they have to have some type of trust with them, because you could just walk up to a stranger and share how you feel. But it's different when someone is sitting across from you and they actually care about how you feel. They're helping you manage it, and they may be even giving you some type of advice that you can actually use and apply to what you're going through or what you're experiencing. So I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly.
And it's also something that you see just in general public. And we talked about this on live like last week. Was it last week? Yeah, I think it was like last week. Just how hard it is for men to share what they're feeling. Because in society, well, yeah, we're in a safe space here. A lot of the stuff that we're saying right now would not be received the right way if it was in, let's say it's on the shade room, right? The comments are gonna go crazy. They're gonna be slandering like, yo, these soft dudes. When in reality, it's not even like that. Like, we're just talking about what we feel. Like, yo, man, I just want to know how your day was, bro. Stuff like that. It's like, yo, you sus. Why you want to know how his day was? And it's that stigma that we got in the community. It's crazy. Like, I just asked how your day was. Pause. Like, bro, what? Pause? Why am I pausing it? Why am I pausing for asking how your day was? My bad, bro. But that's how it is, man. It's crazy how we are shaped by what we see to an extent, right? Because I'm not going to go too deep into that. I talked about the Keke Palmer situation. I'm not, ladies, if anybody's there, I'm gonna tell y'all now, I support Keke. All right, she wasn't completely wrong, but her man, I don't even know his name, whatever he is. He shared what his feelings were about the situation. Poor choice of wording, poor medium, but he shared what he felt. And all of a sudden, everybody slandered this man. But was he wrong? Like, he felt the way about his girl dancing up on Usher. Ladies, it's Usher. We all know who Usher is. All right. This is not some random person on the street. It's Usher. If the situation was reversed, everybody would have been on her side. Like, yeah, you got a girl at home, you cheating, you this, you ain't shit. But in the situation where the man was insecure in that situation, chose a poor platform, I would have never did it. I mean, shout out to him. That's what he'd like to do. That's him. So I don't do the social media stuff. But he shared how he felt. He felt like, yo, my girl is literally seen by millions of people around the world dancing up on another man. How many other people would feel the same way? How many other people, if you saw your girl, your man dancing up on somebody else who has got a track record, let's be real, Usher's not no slouch. Usher's
Yeah.
Usher.
Usher,
You'll get a Confessions album for no reason, right? That man got a lot to confess about, but it's the truth. Just because he chose the wrong words and chose the wrong medium to share it, we disqualified everything he said because he was sharing his feelings. He was sharing his feelings about a situation that was, he probably didn't even think about it. Like, damn, why is she doing this? I got to make this public.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody called themselves, everybody started trashing them. I'm like, damn, I ain't never doing that. Now I know never to go on Twitter and share my feelings. But it's a crazy situation in the crazy world we live in where there's so many different judges for what a man is.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people who have their say in their input.
Right before we respond, JDub, I know you had to head out. Do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Phil just transitioned right into the hot topics because that was definitely burning in the streets for a while, and I thought it was put to rest. But hey, I want to talk about it more. Let me get in there. I didn't really have a problem with any of the situation until I saw Kiki's cheeks out. That's me personally. I live in the 80s and the 90s. That's unacceptable back then where I'm from and where I live at. Other than that, I wasn't worried about Usher. I wasn't worried about. It's just that from our generation, we don't really do the internet thing because it didn't really exist, and that's not how we share our feelings. But he had every right to feel some type of way about what's going on, and in this world, unfortunately, it's a whole lot of double standards. We could probably have a marathon on what men and women can and cannot do, where if the shoe was on the other foot, it'd be something different. But as far as yes, in this media world, they try to tell us how we should feel or what we are or what we can and can't be. But I don't subscribe to anyone trying to tell a man how to be a man. So I don't even, it's like it goes over my head. I can't even accept it. I can't absorb it. It means nothing to me because you're not in my shoes. But yeah, I really have to sign off. But I appreciate y'all. And this is real, and I definitely want to do this again because
for sure.
I gave something and I received something. So I appreciate everybody's time. And
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much, JDub. We'll definitely do it again.
All right. Signing off.
All right.
Shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, hold up. I just might say something. I'm not mad at Kiki. Kiki's sexy as hell. I'm not gonna say nothing against that. It's easier for us to sit here and comment from the sidelines. But if that's your man and that's your girl, you're gonna have a completely different viewpoint because there's somebody that you trust and you talk to daily, right? You're asking to be vulnerable. I'm pretty sure my man clearly was vulnerable on Twitter, so could imagine what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's about that part.
Yeah, one thing I will say is this: social media is not the platform for you to work your issues and problems out on. And so the moment that you bring it to social media, you now are creating a space for you to face judgment, right?
Mhm.
And so this is all a self-inflicted theater BS that he's inviting into his life. The moment you do that, now it's okay to go and have a private conversation and talk to your significant other and say, "Hey, look, you carrying me like this is not working well for our relationship. It's not going to work well for me. It ain't working well for what we are considering the foundation." You have that private conversation, and then, the two of you can maybe make light of the situation to de-escalate the you know the people that's going to come after you on both sides, whether it's people coming after her or coming after him. Like for me, I would simply sit there if I was homeboy and I saw her do that, I'm gonna let her get her rocks off, right? And then when she comes home or when we get there and say, you can't do that again, right? You know that's not how we going. This is not going to work this way with us. And have that, because why sit there and pout? But then you, at the end of the day, you want to go back and be with her. Feel me? So there's that.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, he should have
Is
never.
it safe to say that we're at the that we're transitioning to the current events portion of the discussion?
Oh my
The
bad.
very first
You mean to do that?
no,
I
we
just
good. We good. That very first hour and a half was good, man. It was great. Shawn is actually gonna is here, may be able to join. Um, for those in the audience, if you would like to join as well, I'm cool with that. Um, just let me know, like in the comments or something. Um, but yes, so just to officially transition, we had a really, really good talk about mental health. We had some really great men on the panel, some really great conversation on the panel. We got a lot of support from the audience with the questions. I am so happy that you were able to get something out of it. It would be great if you would be able to share it so someone else can get something out of it. It's kind of why I do it. JDub did touch on something that I didn't mention earlier, and it was, um, in all honesty, like this is something that I asked for, when it comes to, my faith, you know, um, I often ask for a superpower. And sometimes I feel like my superpower is my ability to be publicly vulnerable and have these types of conversations. So if that is a way for me to help someone or possibly save someone, I'm cool with that.
You're better than me. You're a good man.
And so let me just talk
Yeah.
real quick and say something, and then I have to run too.
Yeah.
So I do want to say this though, Ty, and I want to say this, to everybody out there. When I was going through it a little bit with my aggravation from the show, from the effery or whatever,
What? Nah, there's no effery.
yeah, exactly. There's not. Yeah, I just made that up.
Editing.
But no, Ty, tapped in and said, "Yo, you good?" Like, he inboxed me and said, "Is you all right? You good?" No, whatever, whatever. And that just speaks to what you just said. Um, having that superpower and being able to, kind of reach out to people when you see, like man down, man in distress, pimp down, that type stuff, coming in and really just, offering a branch or extending the hand and saying, "Yo, I can pick you up if you want me to. If you're truly down because you can't get up, that's one thing. Or if you just down because you just want to lay down and just be lazy, that's a whole nother thing. And so I appreciate, you just even tapping in and checking in just to make sure that I was good, because that frustration puts you in that funk, and just going through that process as a whole is just it can be a nightmare, especially when if I give you a brand new shiny Lambo and you say, hey, I'm just going to drive it around and put gas in it and bring it back to you, and you do that, but you bring it back and it looks like a sandwich box, I'm gonna have a whole problem with it. And that's kind of like the way that you can feel when you give someone your life and then they decide, I'm going to do it this way, totally contrary to what you think. That type of frustration, you know, um, is something that I can't even explain to you unless you've been there. And so, like I said, I really do appreciate you just checking in, during those times, because it was tough. So, but I say that I have to leave it there, folks. I have a couple of things that I'm obligated to take care of. And so I will do that. And I appreciate being on this panel. Hopefully next week or at some other point in time, we'll be able to meet again and discuss other topics. And hopefully, the things that I've said to the folks out there, hopefully there's a nugget where somebody can take something away from that and either apply it to their own life or use that to heal those sore or open wounds that they may have. So everybody's time just for hearing me out. And yeah, we'll be back at it next time.
For sure.
All right, brother
That's
Phil.
what's up, Paul. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. Peace.
Yo, I'll echo the same thing. Ty, Ty, you a superhero out here. I'll tell you, you are, bro. It's the truth, and you gotta receive your flowers, because you are a special person. Like, this is where people would say pause, right? You are a special person, bro. It's not many real people in this world that have the kind of heart that you have, the integrity that you have, and the kind of man that you are, right? And even talking about the show stuff, right? After the show, there's been nobody I've talked to more than you, right? And it's not like we was even super cool while we were filming. It's after, just off the strength of, and I'm not gonna go into all the details, some of the stuff that I had to deal with after. For some reason, you was always there. You was always making sure that, yo, you straight? Yo, bro, we can talk. Let's go out. First of all, you always saying, let's go out. That go out part, you never miss. But just the fact of doing that, man, it allows, when you feel like the world is crashing on you, somebody sitting there like, yo, bro, let's just go chop it up, go get drinks, means a lot more than you think, right? And throughout the I'm gonna call it bullshit. Throughout the bullshit, you've always been solid. You've always been A1. And to hear not only, PO say, that's something that's been a common theme for you. So you got to receive your flowers, bro. You're a superhero. You out here doing God's work. You may not think it, you may not realize, you may not feel it, but you are. It may not feel like that to you, but to a lot of other people, it is. It means a lot more than you think. So keep being you, bro. Keep driving, and we still gonna go out. But I just want to let you know, man, for real.
Man,
you solid dude.
Thanks, man. Oh man, this last hour.
It's okay to cry, bro. I know. I just hit you with an Oscar.
Nah, I'm good. It's just I try to think about all the things that I have done like in my life, in my career. And, I've recently had to put, a video together of some of my past accomplishments and some of the things that I've done. And with that, I used to keep I call it a kudos folder.
Yeah.
And basically, like if someone was to send me an email about how I was able to help them, or a tweet or a picture or a memory or something, I would screenshot it and put it in the kudos folder, because there's days where I'd be feeling like I'm down, and I need to pick me up. And sometimes I feel like, you know, uh, sometimes it's hard to make it, let me say it. Sometimes it's hard to feel like what I'm doing has been worth it to someone. So every now and then I look at that kudos folder and I realize, like, hey, I've touched a lot of people in a really good way. But like, what I'm saying.
Right. See?
but we're coming up on 10,000 members in my meetup group, and that's over 10 years of just giving out free, education and stuff in my field, in my industry. So I was trying to, working on putting this video together, and it's emotional to think about all of those times. So it's just rushing. The
No,
emotions are just kind of rushing through me right
that's
now.
what you gotta do. Sometimes part of being a man is also assessing the value that you bring to others. I mean,
Mhm,
it's not easy, especially as a black man. A lot of the
mhm,
stresses we go through that we don't even realize
mhm,
that are on our back. You got to find ways to remind yourself of your worth, your value, what you
mhm,
mean to not only other people, but what you mean to yourself,
mhm,
right? You should know what you mean to yourself. Like, yo, my life is important for this reason, or
mhm,
for this many reasons. It's an assortment. Like, you got to remind yourself constantly, because it's not easy. This world is not easy. Going through life, we have a great time when we do it. It's
mhm,
highs and lows. And there's always going to
mhm,
be lows. It doesn't matter how high you get, there's going
mhm,
to be a low point.
mhm,
Reminding yourself that you're worthy, reminding yourself that you are
mhm,
valuable because of what
mhm,
you can bring, not only to yourself, to your family, but to your friends and to others, is
mhm,
something that's severely underrated amongst men, and especially amongst black men. Like,
mhm,
we are, we were originally taught that we weren't valuable,
mhm,
right? This is something that has been ingrained for over a century, right? This is
mhm,
something that we've had to still to this day fighting to prove our worth, fighting to prove our value.
mhm,
So you tell me, you're like, yo, you got a kudos holder, keep that up. Keep reminding yourself why you're here, because we're here for a reason. We are black magic. We are, strong, beautiful black men, of course. And it's like I said, it's often overlooked. It's often underrated in the black community, to remind yourself of your worth, to remind yourself why you do what you do, remind yourself what God placed you on this earth for. So keep that up. And then like yo, this is the first time I've shared publicly outside of my boy
mhm,
that
mhm.
situation. I appreciate you for even inviting me onto this where I
Mhm.
could share that. I feel a little bit better than that. I'm like, oh, I
Good.
didn't read none of the comments out of that, but I feel, you know what I mean? But just
Good.
sharing certain things helps little by little to get us to the point where we need to be.
Yeah, it's awfully therapeutic
Yeah.
to be up here and let it out. Shawn, I'm not sure how much you heard, but if you want to give a quick intro of who you are, what you're doing, you can
What's up? Most
jump
of y'all
in.
know me. I'm Shawn. I'm the cast member of these two cats from the first season of Ready to Love in DC. I'm just getting in back in town from a gig in Virginia Beach, and saw y'all were chatting it up, and I just wanted to hop in. I probably missed all the mental health stuff, but if y'all chatting about anything else, I'm down with it. Just Want to say what's up to my boys? What's up, Phil?
Yeah, we were actually considering to either, if we can get votes from the audience as well, to continue here and do either the current events or an AMA, or just take it to IG.
What's AMA?
It's the ask me anything.
Oh, ask
Oh,
me.
hell no.
I'm
Not
so.
yet. Nah. Next week. Stay tuned next week for that.
All right. What about, so skip that part. What about a current event or two, just real quick? Try to keep it under 2 hours, or just go straight to IG.
I mean, it's up to y'all. I'm gonna be real. I got probably like 10, 15 minutes. I gotta go link up with Kojo since he's in town.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Oh, Kojo's in town?
Yeah, we don't want to stop that. You know, we don't want
How
to
long
stop
is he in
that.
town for this time?
We need
He about to do-
stamina to be up.
Advanced TikTok. We have to do something.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
All right.
I mean,
Shawn,
the only big
wanna
current
just go to-
event, like,
Want to just go to IG then, Shawn?
we could go to IG. I'm down with it.
Yeah, we'll just go to IG. So what we'll do is, everybody, again, thank you all so much. We're going to transition to IG Live. You can Shawn's at you know what? You can find me at Ty Wilson 21 everywhere. That's really all I got to say. I'm kind of still like in it right now, and I just want to thank you all so much. We will be here next week. Phil, take it away.
Nah, thank you again. Thank you, Ty, for creating a platform to allow us to share our thoughts, share our feelings, and share some of our wisdom and experience. For everybody who's tuned in, it is something special and rare that you're seeing, that men, especially Black men, are sharing their feelings in a way where we're not judging each other. So that's something that I think is super, super important, something that people need to start sharing that. Ty, I think whatever you need to continue this, keep this going. And it's up to the people in the chat as they continue to listen, to continue to share this, because there's a lot of men out here, some that don't got any common sense, and some that just don't have that platform or that avenue to share what they're going through, share what they're feeling. So hopefully you're gonna get some guys in here in the chat at some point, sharing their experience, sharing what they've gone through, what they're currently going through, and hopefully we could be a light or a big brother or something to them
For
to help
sure.
them get through. So, and
For sure.
hold up, we trust y'all with mental health issues, but not AMA. No, you are
I must have been going
1,000%
in
correct.
deep. I'm looking at some of the
You are
comments. I mean,
Yeah.
You are
y'all really getting into it.
1,000% correct. All right, 1,000% correct.
Shawn, do you wanna close out before we go to IG?
Yeah. Let me just say something about mental health. Everybody needs a shrinking of their heads. Everyone needs to be like everyone needs to give themselves a break. And I don't mean like a mental break, but I just say just give yourself a break.
Breeze.
I think it's rolling.
When it comes to dealing with people's issues or what have you, nobody's perfect, but talking it out makes it work out. And as far as I'm concerned, when you put one foot in front of the other, you know, there's some serotonins that work that really make you feel good. If it ain't anything but like a little booster shot, you know. So do something productive. If it's just getting up out of your bed, if you're bedridden, or walk around the block, if you hadn't exercised, do something, breathe some fresh air, and get outside the space that you're in and talk to somebody. And that's all I got about that.
You know what?
I won't be late next time. I was just like, sorry, y'all were on.
Cool.
So
You made me think of something, especially with the talking to someone part. Actually, Shawn and I had a really, really good 2-hour conversation here. It's in the playlist. The title of it is Managing Adulthood while grieving. And Shawn was experiencing something during those times and learned what I was experiencing during those times and was able to be the solid emotional support that I needed at that time. And we had a really, really, really good conversation, remember?
Yeah, my mom passed away. But
so that was the thing. So that's what sparked it. The fact that, hold on real quick. That's what sparked it, Shawn. That's what sparked it for me. So earlier in the conversation, I was talking about like how I'm an empath and I can feel people's pain. And the way that you just said it just now, you said it similarly that night. And it was really, really, really like nonchalant. Like, my mom died today. And I was like, nah. So I was like,
being that you mentioned that, Ty,
yeah,
in 2 weeks is the anniversary of my mom passing. So yeah, so my mom would be gone in 2 weeks from tonight. And that's also the anniversary of me celebrating leaving my corporate job. And I remember writing the post on Instagram and Facebook that morning, and it got all these hits and all these likes and stuff, talking about how I'd broken away from my corporate shackles and all that stuff. And now, if I'm not thriving, I found a way to survive from doing something out of the ordinary and taking a chance. And that night, writing basically an impromptu obit to tell the world that my mom had passed away on both platforms. And there's an interesting parallel, and I'll get into it in 2 weeks from now. Well, maybe not 2 weeks, but like I'm doing my own little live. I hadn't done the Shawn show in months, but probably in 2 weeks I'll address that then. But the thing is, life comes at you, and the thing about life is that it's gonna constantly change, and that is the constant. And no matter what you do, it's gonna do that, and we're gonna go through it. And sometimes you'll get inside of yourself and think it's only happening to you. But life's to everybody. And I'm not being callous, but what I'm saying is, because it life's to everyone, we have to be open about it life in us and tell other people, because other people go through things and we think that we're the only persons going through things when we're not. And that's the value of being human. That's crowdsourcing. That's the value of humanity, because we can all go through losing a loved one, because everyone dies, go through feeling lonely, go through all of these things that makes us feel depressed, angry, whatever. And we got to find people to talk to about that. And through that talking and forcing ourselves to look in the mirror and saying, okay, I'm going to deal with this differently today. When we say consciously, I'm going to deal with this differently today, that's like the first step of an alcoholic, right? That's how we solve problems. So we got to talk to other people and understand that we're not the only ones going through something. Now, some of us are going through more dramatic shit than others. Some people have a whole Tyler Perry script. But I'm just saying, when life's, you got to acknowledge it and you got to keep going. And, and I appreciate talking. I was hoping I was at least a value to you and your audience members. And it was a value to me to talk about things as I was going through that. And as you were going through what you were going through. So, yeah, that's on Ty's. Only thing I got to say is that, Ty, we got to find you a marketer to get some better titles for these lives, for these YouTubes. These titles are terrible. It's like grown men talking about and eating pizza. Now, what are you doing? What ain't no title?
Why you gonna mess with my man's mental health, man?
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Also, I got my HD hooked up, so you see it's looking different.
Ooh,
good stuff. We got to get that color grading. We got to get that color grading down.
Well,
get that
that's
ISO. Got to get that ISO 100. But yeah, thank you all so much. We're going to transition to Instagram right now. Not Paul. Shawn, thanks for joining. Phil, thanks for joining. I was going through my lineup of Paul, JDub, I want to make sure I do thank them. Paul, JDub, thanks for joining. Phil, thanks for being here. We already know 48 hours. Shawn, thank you so much. Let's transition to IG, y'all. Thank you all so much in the chat for being here, showing your support. We'll see you all next week.
Good night, everybody.